So as you'll find at Save Mount Diablo, all of the land folks have two events that are our favorites: 4 Days Diablo and our BioBlitzes, and they're a lot of fun.
Hi, my name's Sean Burke. I'm the Land Programs Director for Save Mount Diablo. This is a real exciting year for BioBlitzes. You know, we had this enormous fire that hit the northern portion of the Diablo range in the last year. This went on last summer. We'll be talking about this and basically focusing our efforts for this year's BioBlitz with the distributed BioBlitz, where we focus everyone we can, all of our energy and information on searching exactly what was affected, the results of the fire through a very vast corridor system of the Diablo range. It's really exciting, and it's cool thing is that it's not a one-day event, it's a 2-week event, and everyone's invited. So gear up, fun times.
Yeah, so thank you so much. And before I get started, I just want to let y'all know that this session is being recorded and will be uploaded onto our BioBlitz webpage for everyone to access. And the slides will also be posted on our website in PDF form. So you can also access those at any time. So before we start talking about the BioBlitz and iNaturalist, I'd like to quickly introduce Save Mount Diablo to those who have never heard of us. So we're a nationally accredited land trust and conservation organization based in the East Bay area. And we were founded in 1971 by local community members, Dr. Mary Bowerman and Art Bonwell. And our main mission is to preserve land around the Mount Diablo region through acquisition. And we defend land by advocating against poorly planned and environmentally harmful development projects. We restore land through stewardship and enjoy the land by sharing it with the public through recreational activities and other fun events. So that's us. A couple of very important dates for Save Mount Diablo's BioBlitz is, so currently we're having the intro to iNaturalist and BioBlitz's presentation. The BioBlitz itself is going to be 2 weeks long, like Sean mentioned, and it'll run from April 17th, which is coming up this Saturday, and end on May 1st, which is 2 weeks later on a Saturday. No registration is required, so don't worry about that. Once the BioBlitz is done on May 6th from 4 to 6 p.m., we're going to have a BioBlitz debrief session over Zoom. And this is just a really great opportunity for participants to share their findings during the 2 weeks of the BioBlitz. We have a couple of experts that are going to be presenting, and they'll have observations that they've acquired from all across the northern Diablo range. Sign up is completely free and through Eventbrite, and you can find that information on our BioBlitz webpage as well. So an overview of BioBlitz. What's a BioBlitz? A BioBlitz is basically a 24-hour snapshot of the biodiversity of a place. The goal is to document as many plants, animals, and fungi as possible. Why do we hold these? You know, there's a lot of reasons, but primarily BioBlitz events contribute to an improved understanding of local natural resources, and it fills in spots on the species map. So we have to know what kinds of plants and animals exist in a place in order to protect them. And this kind of event often guides stewardship and land management decisions. Subsequent BioBlitzes can also show what's changed. For example, what pops up after a wildfire. We have some really cool, rare fire followers that can show up after a wildfire. It's also a great excuse to go out and look at interesting areas where you might find something really cool. And the big important part is citizen science. So BioBlitzes help bridge the gap between the scientific community and the public. It's a great opportunity to engage the public, to let them contribute to science, and in doing so, increasing their appreciation for nature. Save Mount Diablo has been doing BioBlitzes since 2007. We've only missed two, one in 2010 and one in 2020. Usually our events are 24 hours long, and on one of our properties or on one of our neighbor or / partners properties like city open spaces, Mount Diablo State Park, or just private neighboring properties that we have permission to use. We generally allow overnight camping, especially for those interested in bats and nocturnal reptiles or insects. We also have stations set up throughout the region just to provide water, maps, first aid. Unfortunately, because of the COVID-19 pandemic, we won't be able to hold our 24-hour event. Instead, we're going to go for a safer approach with a dispersed BioBlitz. And just quickly, there are 3 people in the waiting room. Sean, can you admit them? Cool, thank you so much. Whoops, sorry. So we're going for a dispersed BioBlitz this year, and it's going to be focusing on the SCU Lightning Complex fire footprint throughout those 2 weeks. So we're encouraging participants to visit any of the burn sites that have open public access. Just make sure to check the park agency website for the location you'd like to visit for any updates on trail closures. There is no time commitment. You can go anytime in the 2-week period, just, for one day, multiple times. Most of the suggested locations are in rural areas, and you might need to hike in a couple miles before you reach the burn area, so take note. A lot of the land along the suggested public roads are private, so please make sure to stay alongside the road. There are many pullouts that you can safely stop at to take pictures of plants and things, but don't cross any fences or wander deep into someone's private property. Also, please note that there are very limited to no services in the area. There may be weak to no cell signal. Bring lunch and snacks, water, a full tank of gas, and expect to be out there for a few hours, so bring some kind of sun protection. And of course, please follow leave no trace principles. Don't go off trail and collect anything without proper permits. I highly suggest bringing binoculars, and if you have something you want to look at that's far away, even using binoculars for plants is really helpful. Like I mentioned before, our BioBlitz this year is focusing on the 2020 SCU Lightning Complex fire footprint, which is just shy of 400,000 acres. This series of fires was caused by that massive lightning storm we had in mid-August last year. There were about 20 separate fires that burned across 5 counties in the northern Diablo Range. And these fires burned from east of Mount Diablo, where the deer zone fire spread across Morgan Territory, Round Valley, and Los Vaqueros, down past to Henrico State Park, and down to Pacheco Pass. So the burned area includes a number of public parks and public roads, which we will go over in a minute. So after the 2013 Morgan fire, we spent 3 years studying the fire footprint, and we've decided to repeat the same process with a larger footprint through this program called the Diablo Range Revealed. And this project covers the impact of the SCU Lightning Complex from east of Mount Diablo down south to Pacheco Pass. And it's a great opportunity to explore the northern Diablo Range and track what kind of cool fire followers pop up. You can follow the adventure on our website. There are lots of super informational posts with tips on the best locations to see some of the most amazing wildflower blooms in the region. But this means that for the next 2 years, our BioBlitz events will focus on the SCU Lightning Complex. Now, there are several burn areas open to the public that we're suggesting participants visit, and I'm gonna turn it over to Sean Burke and Seth Adams to go over these locations now. So take it away.
Hi, so as Denise just mentioned, there's lots of different burn zones that we're going to be focusing on. One of the closest to the Mount Diablo area is the Deer Zone fire. The Deer Zone fire is just east of Mount Diablo. It affected more or less 3,000 acres. So it's very similar to the 2013 Morgan fire. Moreover, it really affected the Round Valley and Los Vaqueros area. It's right down the hill, essentially, from Morgan Territory, where that all ties in. Essentially, from Deer Valley Road all the way to the west shore of Los Vaqueros Reservoir, that entire east-facing hillside burned. And so you have quite a variety of different environments to research there and to explore. You have the entire Round Valley itself, which burned. East Regional Park District for years, they did prescribed burns in small plots. This was a massive prescribed burn. you know, like was said, 3,000 acres or so was burned. And as you look high up on the hillside, it's very starkly burned out, where certain trees were completely vaporized. But that's not necessarily a negative thing. As you start looking more closely with binoculars or a scope, or even off the sides of the trails there, you can really start to see signs of life popping up, whether you're looking at stump sprouters from manzanitas or black sage or samish that have been cooked. You see little sproutlings coming up. But you can also start to see really rare, beautiful wildflowers, some of which are fire followers, specifically like California Gilia, Fremont star lilies are another that you'll see, as well as the most healthy Mount Diablo fairy lanterns you can imagine. Imagine fields of fiddlenecks, owl clover, blue dicks, oocow, dove lupin, also morning glories and things like that. It's an incredible valley when you walk into it regardless, but with the burn zone above it, it's a very stark contrast, and it's very exciting to explore from a distance and on the sides of the trails as you walk through the area. With that, it ties into the Los Vaqueros area. Again, you can access this from Los Vaqueros Reservoir, and you look up the hill again as you drive into the east, and you see that whole ridge side where basically it burned, looking north into Round Valley, right above the slopes there at Los Vaqueros. It's an incredible place, and it's really close to home, and it's an exciting place to learn.
I wanted to add just a little bit here, and this is the first map. So these maps will be on our website, the BioBlitz 2021 webpage on Save Mount Diablo's website. And partly why we wanted to explain the maps a little bit is to help you choose where you might want to go. So imagine that coming in from Morgan Territory staging area, you've got to walk in about a mile before you get to the burn zone. And those trails that you see on the East Bay Parks map leading down to Round Valley are dropping down a 1,400-foot steep, rugged escarpment. It's dry and rocky, which is one of the reasons there was a lot of chaparral there and why it burned. And chaparral and brush areas that burned are where we're going to find the highest biodiversity of different kinds of species. So it's a great place. But if you go all the way down that slope, you're committed coming back up, or unless you have a car shuttle with a friend. So come back, part of it from Morgan Territory, part of it from the Los Vaqueros Marina, part of it from the Round Valley entrance if you're really interested, or know that you're going to be committed to a steep downhill and a steep uphill if you try to do a loop. But this is the closest part of the burn zone to Mount Diablo, and it's 5 square miles. It's a nice area. The areas that as they're regenerating, we had low rains this year, and so the regeneration is also low. It also means erosion is low, and the picture is changing every week or two. So that's Morgan Territory, Round Valley, Los Vaqueros. I'm going to tell you a little bit about the Mission Peak Sunol Regional Wilderness because here a lot of the fire happened down in the Calaveras part of the San Francisco watershed lands. But there is a nice patch leading from the Sunol Visitor Center. If you take the Ohlone Wilderness Trail, you can buy a permit, either self-permit or at the Visitor Center when you go into Sunol. But that's the easiest way to access this. You'll go from the Sunol Visitor Center down a little bit south, a few hundred feet to the Corral area, and take the Ohlone Wilderness Trail up through some San Francisco watershed lands towards Mission Peak. And if you've never done that hike anyway, it's a great hike. But it's mostly going to be uphill from Sunol up onto the slopes of Mission Peak, and there's just the main trail there in that particular area. But as you'll see, once you get out into the burned areas, you'll have a lot to look at. I'm going to tell you a little bit more about Henry Coe as well. The burned areas just opened up, and unlike some of the areas where we're seeing 10, 30%, maybe 50% regeneration of burned areas, Henry Coe has a lot more variety. Part of Henry Coe burned in the 2007 Lick fire, and 60% burned in the SCU fires last August. So There's a lot going on there. There's really good wildflowers in Henrico. The problem is Henrico is nothing but up and down. And the closest area to the fire zone is the Dowdy Ranch Visitor Center at the southeast corner, but that's been mostly closed this year. So when you come in from the main staging areas on the west, the main headquarters or Hidden Hollow, you're going to have to walk in up and down ridges, 4 to 5 miles before you get to the edge of the burn area. But if you know Henrico, you'll be able to understand where that is. If you don't know Henrico, it's a jewel of a park, but it's the same amount of trails as Mount Diablo State Park, but in an area 4.5 times bigger. It's kind of like Mount Diablo without the major peaks, just the canyons and ridges. And so spectacular area. I was just there this past weekend, and the wildflowers are better there than I've seen anyplace else. And the burned area is as I don't think I said this yet, but when you look on the burn map, it looks like a big red splotch, and you think that whole area burned. No, when you get into the burned areas, you see it's a mosaic, a big patch of hundreds of acres unburned, surrounded by a big patch that is burned, but in all kinds of different intensities. Sometimes the trees are killed, sometimes the trees are barely touched, and sometimes the chaparral has sticks sticking up that have sprouts already. Sometimes the sticks were completely vaporized. Henrico has incredible variety, and if you can commit to a longer period of time in Henrico, you're going to have one of the best shows of anywhere in the burn zone. If you're willing to do 10-mile hikes or multi-day backpacking trips or anything like that, Henrico is amazing.
So on the opposite side of that is the Meniere De Use area. So this is a real unheard of area. It's actually in the Del Puerto Canyon zone. If you're coming down Highway 5, it's in a zone from 13 to 15 miles down the road. And as you come down Del Puerto Canyon Road, you'll start to see mile markers every mile as you come down the steep canyon there. In between miles 13 and 15 is the Meniere De Use area on the south slope, which will be on your right. It's an incredible area. As you drive down the road, you'll definitely start to see some of the infrastructure has been vaporized by the fire. Essentially, the fire raged all through Del Puerto Canyon, but really it was affected on the north-facing slopes. This particular part, the Meniere De Use area, which is part of Frank Rain's OHV park, that whole south-facing zone was vaporized as well. It's very much like Mars in a sense, but the incredible thing is, again, you have these amazing stark differentiations between these beautiful mineral-rich soils, these burnt-out stumps like chamise, manzanita, sages, things like that, and all these incredible fire followers and wildflowers that have been waiting to get their chance to pop up, and just waiting years for this fire to come through and make such an environment where you see a serious diversity in the wildflowers in the area. I mean, I've been down this area now 4 times since the fire, and I snuck down there right as the fire hit. I snuck down like basically every month since the fire hit, and I've seen it evolve. As you drive down the area now, you get into the Meniere De Use area hiking trail, you'll see an incredible variety of wildflowers from chia, yellow poppies, California gilia, tansy leaf phacelias. I also have seen cauliflower mushrooms out there, which are pretty rare to see. And the incredible thing is there's extensive views. And this is one of the few public hiking areas, and actually the only real public hiking area that you can go in Del Puerto Canyon and not have to worry about OHV access as you do in the Frank Rains area. This particular section of Del Puerto Canyon offers extensive views. As you basically start your way up the trail to the top of one of these ridge lines, it's about a 1,600-foot gain to the summit over maybe 4 miles. So it's relatively steep, which is what gives this area such the ambiance and variety that it has. but you have these incredible views to the Sierra and up and down the entire length of the Del Puerto Canyon corridor. It's incredible. And one of the great things with that is, even though the fires rage through there, you have this incredible source of life in the creek below you. And that has an incredible variety of fire following plants, as well as certain trees and things that have made it through the fire. But you also have a lot of animal life in the area, which is kind of incredible to imagine. There's rare frogs in the area, like Sierra yellow-legged frogs, as well as golden eagles are seen, tons of woodpeckers and flickers, ground squirrels, and it is seriously a raven haven. That is the animal you will see there more than anything, are ravens and wolf packs, murders, if you will, flying and surfing these winds as you come through. It's an incredible place, and definitely a recommended stop during this BioBlitz.
So if we know something is there, why do we want to go back to that place and find it again? Because that helps gives us a snapshot of change. And if you don't know something's there, it's hard to protect it. So we've told you a number of different areas there, and a lot of them have steep slopes and are more difficult to get to. And if you're really interested in the Diablo Range or in wildlife and plants and wildflowers, and part of the reason we're involving the public is because we've got a really good way to check out the burn area, whether you're taking records on iNaturalist or not. And that's there's a nice set of public roads going right through the heart of the burn area, which has incredible diversity. But it's a commitment, and it's in an area with almost no cell service, no services of any sort. So you have to bring stuff with you, and it's gonna be an all-day commitment. It's probably a 60 miles in the burn zone area and 60 or more miles to get from wherever you're at to either end of it. When we talk about the Diablo Range, around Mount Diablo, north of Altamont Pass, we've protected about 75% of what we think is important. In the rest of the 150-mile Diablo Range from Mount Diablo to Kern County, only 24% has been protected. So that's why we're showing you these specific places like Frank Rains and Henry Coe and Mission Peak where you can access. But the best access is simply driving on these roads and looking for things from the turnouts and places like that. There are a lot of turnouts. We don't want you to go on people's private land. There are a lot of places where you can't really tell that because the fence is burned away. But the real place is to look from the road, from the turnouts. There's not much traffic on these roads compared to a lot of places. So during the week, I often stop in the middle of the road with binoculars. But on the weekends, you definitely want to be in the turnouts. And the best route to take is to drive to San Jose, go up the Mount Hamilton Road. The fire begins pretty much on the west side of Mount Hamilton, but it really gets going on the other side of the peak where Lick Observatory is when you start down San Antonio Valley Road to kind of an island of unburned area in the San Antonio Valley. Lots of turnouts. Lots of great burned areas of all kinds, that mosaic we were talking about. And you can see a lot of stuff there. And there are more records being collected along Mines Road, but when we talk about some rare species, they may show up and bloom for a week. So you could go there 51 weeks of the year and not see this plant or not easily find it. And then for a week or two, it's blooming. And if you're lucky, you might catch it. There are lots of fire follower species in this particular area. So drive to San Jose, go up Mount Hamilton Road. Know that you're not going to have cell signal or services after that. Drive down San Antonio Valley Road, then take a ride on Del Puerto Canyon Road for any length. It's 24 miles long. Each of these pieces that we're looking at is about 25 miles long. So drive down Del Puerto Canyon 6 or 10 or 15 miles and then back up. And then 14 miles of Mines Road is within the fire. 14 miles in the Alameda County and 7 miles in Santa Clara County are within the fire area, and you head up towards Livermore. Be safe when you're along these public roads. Definitely take a companion. That's helpful, and you'll have an incredible time. whether you come from San Jose up Mount Hamilton or from Livermore up Mines Road, you'll get a good look at what the habitat looked like before the fire. And then when the grass gets really bright and you see burned areas, you'll be in the fire area. It's less obvious now that there's a lot of green grass, but you get a good sense of the before and after of the fire zone. This is one where you can just go take a drive and enjoy yourself on some of the most beautiful roads in the Bay Area.
Great. So now I'm all pumped up to go. But before we jump into the specifics of uploading on observations onto iNaturalist, I'd like to give a broad overview of what iNaturalist is. Basically, iNaturalist is a giant database, both an app and a website. It's designed to let people share their observations of nature and create an official record of a plant or an animal or fungi or many other little critters that were seen at a particular location on a particular day. And this keeps track of species occurrence data. Not only can you make and share observations, you can also get identifications. You can keep track of everything you've seen and explore what other people have seen across the world. It's very similar to Bug Guide, if you've ever used that, or eBird, and it was made in 2008 at UC Berkeley by Kenichi Ueda and his team, and it's now run by the California Academy of Sciences. So great news! Save Mount Diablo is partnering up with the California Native Plant Society for their 3-year Fire Followers project. Their project encompasses all of the 2020 fires that happened throughout California, but they do have a specific iNaturalist project made for the SCU Lightning Complex. And we're encouraging all BioBlitz participants to upload your observations onto that project. And I'll guide you step by step on how to do that when we'll get there. They're accepting animal and fungi sightings along with plants, so don't worry about that. And they also have a really cool challenge up right now for the month of April where you can win some really cool CNPS gear. So I'm definitely joining the competition. How does iNaturalist work? Crash course. Number one, or first step, you take a clear focused photo or multiple photos of an organism to turn it into an observation. Then you're going to upload your photo either onto the app or the website, and you're going to need Signal in order to do this. And iNaturalist will give you some ID suggestions of that photo. And they do this because of all the crowdsourcing over the years. It has a lot of information packed into it. If you don't know what your organism is, that's perfectly okay. You can choose from the list of, the closest thing that looks like your organism, and there'll be pictures with the suggested identifications. You want to focus on the suggestions that say visually similar or seen nearby, or you can type in your own suggestion. If you don't know and iNaturalist doesn't have any suggestions, you can just say plant or insect. Then hit share. And your observation gets uploaded to iNaturalist where the iNaturalist community can confirm or refine that identification. It's really quick, super easy. I'll go through the step-by-step process after this so we can get a better sense of how to do it online and through the app, but super, super easy. Once you've got this, an observation uploaded, for example, here's an observation of a flower, a plant, and you can see that 2 other people down here have, from the iNaturalist community, have agreed that this is a seaside daisy. Just like anyone can make an observation on iNaturalist, anyone can help with identifications as well. There are over 800,000 iNaturalist members made up of scientists, amateur experts, people just interested in nature, students, park rangers, etc. There's a lot of knowledge out there, and other people can help you ID your photo. So don't worry if you don't know what it is. Now that this observation has 2 confirmations for this identification, it's now considered research grade, and you'll see this pop up on your observation. Once it's considered research grade, that's now an official species, or it's official species occurrence data. So this is a confirmed record that this species was seen at that location on that particular day that you noted. And this is really important information for scientists studying biodiversity and species ranges. So it's very useful. Couple benefits of why being on iNaturalist is really cool and it's just great to do. You learn a lot. There's tons of really great observations and knowledgeable experts on the social network. You can help others identify their observations. You can explore what other people have found, either at a local scale or across the world. You can interact with experts. You can contribute to the scientific advancement and help guide policy change. It's also just really cool to see all these organisms that we share the planet with. It really puts things into perspective. And, you know, there's a lot of more reasons why iNaturalist is such a great resource and such a great community to be a part of. I highly encourage everyone to explore the app and play around with the different functions. There's a lot you can do with the app. Okay, so now we're moving in to how to use iNaturalist step by step. First of all, we're gonna start with the website. And I just wanna remind y'all that in order to upload observations, you do need signal. So you're gonna have to go somewhere where you get that signal. Since we're doing on a website, you're gonna have your computer with you. What you wanna do first, you're gonna make an account. It's completely free and super quick to make. Once you're there, once you've made your account and you're in, you're gonna wanna look up, you're gonna go to the search bar up here and type in California Fire Followers 2020 SCU. And at this point, a drop-down list will pop up and you should just click on the first one that says SCU Lightning Complex. There's only one, so that's gonna be it. And this is what's gonna pop up after you click the search. What you're gonna wanna do here, you're gonna wanna join this project, and this helps CNPS keep track of how many people are participating in their event. So you're gonna hit join right there. And that's it. So now you're part of this group. Once you've joined, you're ready to start uploading your observations. So up here on the upper right-hand corner, there's a button that says upload, and you're gonna click on that. And this is already assuming that you went out to the field, you have all the pictures you want, and now you're just ready to upload things. So this is what pops up. You're gonna have the option, you know, you have many options you can explore, but I'm just gonna drag a picture. I'm gonna use this, this picture of a plant that I took out in the Stanislaus County. And an important thing to note is when I took this picture, I took it using my phone, and my phone had the GPS location settings turned on, which unless you manually turned it off, it should be on. That's just the default setting. Since my GPS was turned on, my phone captured a date and timestamp and the coordinates of the location I took the photo at. So that information now follows this picture wherever it goes, and it automatically gets uploaded onto iNaturalist. You can upload the date, time, location data manually if you're not using your phone, or if you just don't want to turn on your GPS settings. That's perfectly okay. If you take a picture without the location or time and data or location data, then you're going to want to make sure you bring a journal with you so you can keep track of that information. So it's very important information to have, and it's very helpful. So I have this plant here. This is the first thing I'm going to do is click on the species name. When I do that, this drop-down bar will pop up, and these are suggested IDs that iNaturalist is providing me. And like I mentioned before, this is information that iNaturalist has gathered through years of crowdsourcing. I don't know what this is, so I'm just gonna say it's a lupin. It looks a lot like that picture, this first picture right here. So I'm just gonna say it's a lupin. Someone will help me confirm and refine this identification at some point in the future, so don't worry. The next thing I'm going to want to do is double check that my time and date is correct. If you took your picture with the DSLR or some other kind of camera, then you're going to have to input this data manually. That looks okay. Next thing I want to check is location data. Like I said, I took this photo with the GPS turned on my phone, so the exact coordinates were automatically uploaded with the photo. If for any reason you want to adjust the location, you can click on this box and this is what's going to pop up. At this point, you can change the location and change the accuracy as well by shifting the red circle or making it larger to encompass a broader region. If you want to change who has access to your observation, you can click on the geoprivacy section right here, and it's going to give you a drop down with some options. Open means that everyone can see the exact coordinates. Obscured means that it's less accurate and the red circle encompasses a much larger section. And private means that no one but you can see that location data. Now, since this is a public BioBlitz, we highly encourage everyone to please keep the coordinates of your observations open if possible. So once I have my location data, I'm ready to upload. And to do that, you can see that there's a green button on the upper right-hand corner that says Submit Observation. And that's it. Super easy. Once you've hit that, this is what pops up. And you can see your newest observation at the top of this list. If I click on this observation that I just made, this is what pops up. You'll see the location data, all the date, the time, when I submitted it. If I scroll down, you'll see that it's been uploaded onto 3 different projects. And I didn't do any extra work. My plant photo was taken on the SCU Lightning Complex fire footprint. So, and I took it with my phone, so I had that location data, and my photo automatically got uploaded to CNPS's Fire Followers project. So you don't need to worry about manually adding your observation to the project. It's all automatic. Adding observations through the phone, super similar, not a lot of differences. The first thing you want to do is go to your app store and download the iNaturalist app. It's completely free. There's no charge. Once you have it downloaded, you're going to want to sign in or sign up. And once you open it, this is what's going to pop up. And to upload observations, you go to the lower right-hand corner. There's a plus sign there. And you have different options to upload your observations. Since you need signal to upload observations, and most of the suggested locations that we talked about before don't have signal, most likely you're going to do this later on after you've taken your photo. So I'm going to go with choose image. And so here, I'm just going step by step how I upload onto the phone. I uploaded a picture of another plant. This is what pops up. Like I said before, you can adjust the time, the date, the location to however you want it. And first thing I'm going to do is click on the suggestions that iNaturalist provides for the species, or just the plant name. And I don't really know what this is, so I'm just going to go with the closest thing, whatever looks closest to my organism. And so I'm going to go with forget-me-nots. And if you scroll down, you're going to see that it's going to get uploaded onto these 2 projects down here. You don't have to worry about manually adding anything in it. Oh, and that's it. And then you click upload, and that's it. It's super easy. Okay, so just to go over a couple FAQs. What if I don't have a photo? No problem. You don't need one. And this is very common, especially if you saw an animal that moved too fast. I'll show you here how to upload a photoless observation on the website, but it's very similar on the app. You'll hit upload, and this is going to pop up. And you're going to see on the left-hand side that there's an option to add things. In this drop-down menu, you can add observations without media. So I'm going to click on that. So here, just try to describe what you saw as best as you can. You can add notes to it. Definitely collect the date and the time and the location that you saw, whatever you did. Anything that might help people just keep track of what you saw. and you can upload that. Still very useful data, even if there's no photo. What if you're not an expert? You don't have to be an expert. A couple weeks ago, literally a couple weeks ago, I uploaded a photo of a plant that iNaturalist had no suggestions for, so I just called it plant. And a few days later, someone recognized my plant and gave me a better ID. So that was very helpful. Don't worry about the title. This person didn't know this was a spider. That's fine. You can just label it something. It's still very important information. Someone might be able to help you. You just never know. Privacy concerns. We went over privacy concerns. You can adjust the geoprivacy settings if you wish to do so. But I do want to remind y'all that this is a public BioBlitz and accurate location data is very helpful. But here are your options again if you want to adjust those. But what if you find something with a special conservation status, like maybe it's endangered or maybe it's threatened? Don't worry. Years of crowdsourcing has made iNaturalist very powerful. And if the app even suspects that your organism may have special conservation status, then it'll automatically obscure the location data. You don't have to do anything. It's just automatic. Couple tips on how to make your observations better. Take good photos. Make sure it's in focus. Don't upload landscape pictures. There's just too much going on. Make sure your photos focused on just one organism at a time. Take multiple pictures from different angles. So for example, if you're taking a picture of a tree, take photos of the bark, take photos of the leaves, both the top side and the underside. Take photos of any flowers that you see. All that stuff is really helpful for identification purposes. Even if you don't have your phone GPS location on, sometimes, or even if you do have your phone GPS location on, sometimes there are glitches. So just note down what time, what date, and the location that you took the picture of whatever you took your picture of. So make sure to bring something that you can write down with. And yeah, and so make sure your location is correct. Just double check. Like I said before, don't worry if you don't know what something is called. When you're choosing from your suggested list, choose the organism that looks most similar to the one in your photo. If you know the common name, then you can add that. If you know the scientific name, then you can use that, but neither is information that's required. Like I said, I labeled my plant because I didn't know what it was called. So someone came out and helped me with that. So very, very easy. Be patient. There are lots of experts and a lot of knowledge on iNaturalist, but it takes time for people to reach your photo and to help you identify it. It might take days, it might take weeks, it might take years. It's okay. You uploaded it and that's still information that's really helpful and may come to good use one day. And lastly, just want to remind y'all that 2 weeks after the 2 weeks of the BioBlitz, we're going to have a debrief session over Zoom, and you can sign up for it through Eventbrite. It's completely free. It's going to be on Thursday, May 6th from 4 to 6 p.m. And we're going to have a lot of great presenters from all over the Northern Diablo Range, highlighting some cool findings and other observations that they made. And that's our presentation. Any questions? See, I'll open the chat. Let me stop share.
Someone asked about the Miwok Trail coming down from Morgan Territory to Los Vaqueros and then to Round Valley, and that's often closed while they're figuring out whether or not an eagle nest is viable that particular year. So the simplest way to get to the burn area is from the staging areas on any side, and then when you get to the trail closure, turn around.
Right. And someone asks, what about Joseph D. Grant County Park? Is any part of the burn area accessible there?
I'm not aware of a part of the burn area in Joseph D. Grant, and we haven't really looked at that. There was a previous burn in that park, which you might be thinking about, but I'm not aware of anything in the SCU. The regional parks in Santa Clara County were really pretty good about providing a buffer between neighborhoods and the more rugged areas that did burn.
And someone mentions that sometimes my Garmin gives more accurate GPS than my phone. And of course, you can manually enter that data onto the iNaturalist. I'm not sure how to connect that with the phone, but all that location data on iNaturalist is definitely something you can manipulate and just change.
You can use the location function to narrow in and then move it to a more precise location if you know where that is, or if you have some other kind of record.
And someone's asking, can you upload multiple photos for a single observation? And yes, you can. You can upload many photos and then compile them into one. There's an option on iNaturalist that allows you to do that. What about non-plant observations? Will there be more general iNaturalist projects for birds, herbs, etc.? So this actually encompasses everything. It's not just plants. We are working with the California Native Plant Society, but they are accepting observations for animals and fungi. So if you want to upload those observations, that's still very useful information. Save Mount Diablo, we're also accepting lists that you collect. If you don't want to upload onto iNaturalist, we do accept lists. You can email those to me, and I will compile all those, and those will be publicly shared as well. Does GPS work when you are out of cell range? It does. It does still track you. I was out of cell range when I took a bunch of pictures down at the Puerto Canyon, and that information still got uploaded automatically onto iNaturalist. Can I share an observation with a few people of my choosing without making it public? You know, that I'm not quite sure if you can. I have not checked that out, but you can make your location private, but I'm not sure about sharing it with just a couple people. That's something I'll have to check in. I'll note this question down and get back to you with that information. But good question. Are the maps that you presented available for download? Yes, they are. You can find them on our website, and I will post the link of our website.
But generally, when you go to a park where they have maps, take a photo there too of a more detailed look. And if you're going to the regional parks, pick up a map at the beginning. Our maps are a little less detailed than the ones you'll pick up in the map box at the regional park.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and on our website, you'll see a check status for each location that we suggest. And I highly recommend that you go onto the park's website and definitely bring an extra copy of the map that they provide. Let's see. Is there an age limit for participants, as in can high school students participate? Yes, so our BioBlitz is completely open to the public. You can go out at any point in time. Of course, we want to encourage that you be very safe and bring a parent or guardian with you, but it's open to everyone of all ages. Let's see. Do projects come out of the observations? Well, Seth, do you want to talk more about what's coming out of all these observations?
Sure. What we're really doing is taking a blank spot on the map and filling it with wildlife data. And so all kinds of things can come of that. There was a famous survey in the Sierra that was done manually 100 years ago, and it's now being used to measure the differences since climate change has started having an effect. But we use the data for management decisions. We use it for setting priorities for what should be preserved, and we use it to educate people about what's out there. You can't, as I said before, it's hard to protect something if you don't know what's there and if people aren't aware of it. So the real thing we're doing with this BioBlitz is one of many things to expose the Diablo range to people. So whether you use iNaturalist or not, we just want you to go take a drive, see how incredible this area is. You'll fall in love with it, and then you'll want to help more. So lots of things come out of it, but what we're focusing on the most is you having a good time.
And I think that's all our questions. This is being recorded and it will be shared with everyone as well as uploaded onto our website, along with a PDF format of the presentation itself. And of course, if anyone has any other questions, you can always feel free to email me.
You should really be signed up for our e-blast. Maybe that's where you heard about this in the first place. But there are a lot of great events that happen there, lots of good information, species sightings, things like that. And all these different events that we do, that's where they get advertised the most real time. And you'll enjoy them.
And if there are no, oh yes, sorry.
Go ahead. Well, I was just going to say, this is a really unique event. I mean, we're able to utilize this lightning complex fire as a way for us to get out into this beautiful expansive area called the Diablo Range and have motivation to go explore somewhere that's really incredible in our backyard. We can see the similarities within the Diablo Range, like some of these plants we're going to see very commonly in all of these fire footprints. We're going to see some incredible wildlife that's very common to these areas, but then we're also going to see some of the outliers, the dramatic differences that are going to be unique to the region too. So it's just a great way to get out, learn more about it, and just connect to an incredible, expansive sense of unknown and make it known. And that's an exciting thing to be able to do. So we are really looking forward to this internally, and we really hope that everyone who signed up for this is excited too, because it's a once in a lifetime event. Thank you for
in the 3 BioBlitzes after the 2013 Morgan fire, we found hundreds of species, including several dozen fire followers that only appear after fires. We know that there's maybe as many as 50 fire follower species in the full extent of the SCU fire area. And some of them have never been seen in these specific locations. Some haven't been seen in 25 years, 40 years. We had one species on Mount Diablo after the 2013 fire that hadn't been recorded in 125 years. And so the information that we find, the photos that we collect, which are really important part of this process, turn out to be very useful.
And so we have another question. Can any of these areas be accessed by bikes?
In general, fire roads can. Other than that, you need to look at each agency and their specific rules.
Great. And if there are no more questions.
In general, fire roads in public land areas. I'm not saying fire roads on private land. Please respect private land and don't trespass. When you're along the side of the road, you're going to be able to see a lot. And as I said, in lots of areas, fences burned. If you're going to go onto a piece of land next to the road, don't go very far. Try not to trespass on private land. And everybody should really thank Denise for putting this program together, both the BioBlitz itself and this presentation. And thank you all for coming.
Thank you so much, everyone, and have a great rest of your evening.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much.